Hello VC, it's David Michael. It's very early on a Friday morning. I just got home from work and I had a really amazing haul last night, and I was gonna save this video until next week because I just posted one. But a couple things kind of made me want to do this right now, and one being that it's a really amazing haul for this time of year in my parts anyways. And I guess number two, since we're all friends, I've had a couple of really shitty back-to-back nights at work, so I thought, do I really want to start my weekend feeling this crappy? Or, do I want to start my weekend off right? So I thought, I'm going to try filming this video, and it's bound to cheer me up, kind of sharing these records with everyone. So I'm going to kind of try to keep this really concise, this little intro part. My wife and I went out last night, as you all know. As I always say, we go out thrift shopping all the time, and finds have been okay, but winter, generally speaking, isn't that tremendous in my parts for thrift store finds. But it's been okay. But last night, it's really warm in my part of Canada. You wouldn't believe it, but it's been like minus. I'm so used to saying minus. It's been plus 14, plus 16. Which is incredibly unusual for February in Northern Canada. So I'm not sure how that plays into it, but it has that spring feeling, and that's when usually the albums start appearing. And we hit 3 stores and in really quick succession. And the first 2 was just bang, 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 bang. And the third one, I think my wife got some good stuff. But it was one of those rare nights where we both made out like bandits. So I'm going to preface this all by saying these are all $1.99. So we'll get that out of the way, so I'm not mentioning that as I show every album. So I'm sorry if I'm drinking a lot this video, but like I said, I just got off a 9-hour shift and a little bit dehydrated. So I'm going to start this video. I'm going to show you a book. I forgot to show you this book. This was from last week at a Goodwill. And I don't normally show books, but generally the only books I really buy are music-related books. I'm kind of very, very linear that way. Was this hardcover copy of Genesis Chapter and Verse. That was at a Goodwill. It's a heavy sucker, and I can't remember when this book came out. The year is easy enough to find out, but I'm trying to remember if it came out for their last reunion tour. Possibly, or the last round of reissues, I can't remember, but it's called Chapter and Verse, and it has interviews. It's an official book by the band, and it's got interviews with everyone who's ever been involved in Genesis, and it's got a lot of really cool unseen photos. Basically, it's kind of the book version of that kind of average documentary that came out last year. But obviously this was released before that. But it's kind of just the band members telling the story of Genesis. And it's, like I said, it's a hefty one. So that was a really cool Goodwill find. Really love Genesis, as some of you might know. So for the first time, I'm starting off with a book. And thank God I'm done showing it off, because it's heavy. And I'm old and tired. Okay. Like I said, unless there's some kind of story that I think I need to relate, I'm just going to show these to you. Thank God I spin cleaned these last night, so I'm coming home to fresh, clean vinyl to show you all. Like I said, $1.99 for all of these. I'm not sure if there's an exception or two, but actually now I'm looking at them now, and I think, yeah, they were all $1.99. So I'm going to start it off with Level 42, Level Best. Level 42's greatest hits. Most of these all are in excellent condition. Generally speaking, I don't pick up anything, as I always say, anything less than VG+. So once again, just not to have to describe every vinyl, we'll just take it as said that they're all in really excellent to VG+ condition. Level 42, don't know what else to say. A favorite 80s band of mine. I've never actually seen this greatest hits on vinyl before. I have the CD equivalent, but not the vinyl. It has all the inserts too, which is really cool. It has all the mail-in coupons for the videos, the video tape that came out with this album. So Level 42, Level Best. I do have a story for this one. and I'll try to keep it really short. But some people say they like my stories, so maybe I won't apologize. Angel City Face to Face. I was just talking to Craig from Craig Vinyl about Angel City. In Australia, they were called the Angels, and I'm going to bet that in North America there were 1,000 bands called the Angels. So, of course, I'm sure the Angels was trademarked. So they went with Angel City. This was a massively big album in Canada, an incredible rock album. So if you don't know this album, I'm not sure in your part of the world if it's called the Angels or Angel City, but Face to Face. How I know this album is in high school. My first year of high school, I was 13. I started school early, so I was a bit younger than everyone else, really impressionable. But my locker got stuck in the art department where all the art kids hung. And it turns out that I took a lot of art courses anyway, so it was kind of convenient that I was there anyways. But big row of lockers leading down to the art department, and there was a space between the top of the lockers and the ceiling running all the way down both sides of the walls, well, both sides of the lockers, if I'm making sense. And the art students of all the years gone by were allowed to paint murals, use this space to paint murals, which is really cool. But someone in the early 80s, this was like 86 I started, so this had to have been about 4, 5, 6 years before I started. Someone painted this mural, and I had no clue what it was. But this image stuck with me for the longest time. And then I saw this album. I'm sure it was probably a used record store at the time, and I thought, if it's cool enough, if someone thought enough of it to paint a mural of it in our art department wall, I had to try this out. And I found it last night for $1.99. I have a copy. It's been completely played out since I got it in about 86, 87. So if you ever have a chance to listen to Angel City Face to Face, probably one of the most unsung, amazing rock bands from Australia. So that's my my old ancient high school story about how I got introduced to Angel City. Okay. I found 2 albums last night, and the odd thing is that half of these were found at one thrift store, and then a short 5-minute drive is this other thrift store. I found one album at the first store and the second album at the second one. It's the most, kind of one of the weirder coincidental things I've had happen. So I already have this album, but this is like a spotless condition copy, so it's going to replace my well-worn copy. Tommy Bolin Teaser. Like I said, I don't know what else to say about some of these finds other than it's just, it's amazing that all these hauls came last night, a Thursday night in Northern Canada in February. It's kind of, it's nothing that's really ever happened to me, and you all know how much kind of thrift store shopping I do. But Tommy Bolin Teaser, if you don't know this album, you have to hear it. I love Tommy Bolin, one of my favorite guitar players. And then obviously, if you kind of do the math and you know Tommy Bolin, then you know the second album I found was Private Eyes. So 2 stores, 2 Tommy Bolin albums. It was one of those hauls last night where I'm sitting in the car with my wife as we're driving around, just laughing to myself because it just kind of came right out of the blue, unexpected. You know, I expect to find the odd piece here and there. But like I said, it's one of the weirder nights I've had for awesomeness, if that's a word. And if not, I'm going to make it a word today for this video. Tommy Bolin, Private Eyes. It's break time. I have a feeling that I'm really machine gun talking this video, so I'm sorry if I am. It's a lot of albums from last night. I'm trying to fit all into a reasonable amount of time. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This is an original 1972 Coalition Records pressing. I already have this, but I have a friend who would love this album. This is the one, if you don't know Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you know a lot. Two of them have died recently. But this is the one that has Lucky Man on it. So if you're looking to dip your toe in the water of ELP, this is a good start. With another album called Tarkus is another good album to start with as well. But Lucky Man's on this one. So that was a find last night. These are in no real order, so it's gonna bop around from prog to rock to 80s. And as far as we're going to talk 80s, we're going to talk about Agnetha Falkskog. The name I might have butchered. Actually, no, I think I said it right. But this is one of the first. I can't remember if this is the first or second solo album from Agnetha, who obviously was in ABBA. And this album I've had on CD. I never even bothered to buy the vinyl or really seek it out. But it's a decent album. It's produced by Mike Chapman. Mike Chapman, some of you might know, he produced most of the Blondie albums, Pat Benatar, The Knack. Probably any really big album from the early 80s Mike Chapman was involved in. But he produced this album, and it's actually a pretty decent, solo ABBA albums are kind of hit and miss at the best of times. This one's actually pretty good. For, like I said, $2. I'll give that a punt. Another album that for some reason, it's one of my favorite bands, but I've never had it on vinyl, is The Alarm. Change. It's in the original die-cut sleeve. I'm not going to bother taking it out, but it has a die-cut sleeve. The big hit off this album, I think it was a hit in Canada. I remember going to our local, it was kind of like going to the mall record store at the time, and being surprised that there was a cassette single for The Alarm. So that tells me that was a hit in Canada. But it was the big song off here was Sold Me Down the River. And our video channel in Canada, Much Music, gave that video a lot of love at the time. I'm a really, really, really big fan of The Alarm. So that was another find from last night. Here's a pretty cool find. It's not something that I would normally buy, but I am familiar with her music. This is an original 1968 pressing on Decca Records, original Decca pressing of Billie Holiday's greatest hits. In an absolutely wonderful condition. Billie Holiday, I know a lot of people who see my videos, they see, a lot of people are really into rock or really into metal or really into their thing. There's people who comment who are pretty eclectic. Billie Holiday's maybe a little bit left of center for me, but working in music retail all these years, I've always had one staff member be really into Billie Holiday, so I've got to hear her catalog of songs many times over the years. And Billie Holiday is, how can you say anything bad about Billie and her voice? And if you're a single man out there, I'll give you a little tip. Billie Holiday, if you're ever on a date, it's great mood music. Just saying. Anyways, 1968 original pressing on Decca of Billie Holiday's greatest hits. Ellen McIlwain, Honky Tonk Angel. Ellen, this is from 1972. This is an original Polydor pressing. Ellen, I got to be familiar with at a record store that I managed for about 10 years. And I'll save you the story about the history of this record store, because there was another video I was going to do that was going to go into more detail. And when you see that, it'll make more sense why I was talking about that store. But our bread and butter at that store that I managed for almost 10 years was folk, roots, country, blues, and all that. We didn't sell any commercial music. We were one of the biggest independent retailers in Canada at the time, selling just that kind of music, which kind of made us really special. Ellen McIlwain was a favorite among our customers, and I had never heard of her before that. And we had very, very turned on customers. Customers who know their stuff. And Ellen was one of those artists that people always asked for. And that's how I got introduced to Ellen McIlwain. like I said, an original 1972 pressing of Honky Tonk Angel. Like I said, I'm quite familiar with her music now. It's incredibly good folk and roots music, very country tinged. So that was a really nice find, I thought. This one, I'm not sure who's going to know this one, but George Ben, Tropical. George Ben, or Jorge, depending on how you want to pronounce it, but I'll call him George Ben. Very famous Brazilian musician. Some people might call it samba, Latin samba music, if that's not too repetitive. Very, very highly regarded, and his albums seem to be really scarce, and they go for quite a bit of money, which is not why I bought this, because it's one of those genres of music that I've always, I'll dip my toe in the water of anything that's affordable and kind of sought after, just to kind of educates myself. So I can enter into a conversation with someone who might know a lot about Brazilian samba and have something to talk about, I guess. But George Ben, Tropical, another find from last night, really nice one. David Lindley, Win This Record. El Rayo Exo is that's the big album that he did. This one I think followed after that one, but that one I really love. This one I haven't heard, God, in years. Like I said, probably when I was in retail, probably I had someone who really loved that album, this album, and his first album, and played it to death. But because I haven't heard that since this album since then, probably it's been years, anyways. But that was from last night. David Lindley, Win This Record. The Knack, Round Trip. I could go on and on about the Knack. If you've seen a video showing off my music room, you might have noticed an original Capitol Records promo poster for the Knack that's over there. Massive Knack fan. So this was their third album, Round Trip, and it was their last at the time until they reformed years later. It's a promo copy, which is why I bought it, because obviously I have a copy. It's an amazing eclectic album. This is when they kind of took their time and rethought their whole lives out, and they decided to, as the band put it, go from black and white into Technicolor. And that's what they did with Round Trip. An amazingly really good eclectic rock album that was unfortunately sank by choosing the worst first single ever, which that's a whole other story. But it's a really good album, Round Trip by the Knack. Like Billie Holiday, something else that's kind of a little bit outside my comfort zone, a little bit, although my dad played this artist a lot growing up, so it's not unfamiliar. $2, I'll give it I'll try it out. Patsy Cline, Today, Tomorrow, and Forever, which is a compilation on MCA Records. Like I said, Patsy Cline's one of those artists my father would play a lot when I was young, along with similar country from this era. So it's one of those records, you very rarely see Patsy Cline records in really good condition. So I had to pick that up. Suzanne Vega's first album. I think I bought this, like I said, I picked it up from the hall last night, and I brought it home, and I swear I have it. I can't find it, but I think I do have it. So Suzanne Vega is someone if I have duplicates, I always have friends who will give it a good home. But that was from last night, Suzanne Vega's first album. This might be one of the finds of, this was the find of the night. It might be one of the finds I've had in a long time. It was an original pressing of Camel, the Snow Goose. It's on Janus Records. It's a Canadian pressing anyways, distributed by GRT Records. I'm quite familiar with Camel on this album. I've had the CD forever and a day. The vinyl, I was waiting to find a copy that was less than 20, 30 bucks, in a really good condition copy. And I waited and waited and waited, and God, did it take a long time to wait, but finally I got one for $2 in really good condition. So definitely for me personally, it was the winner of last night. and it's probably one of the better finds I've had in a long time. So Camel and the Snow Goose. Krista Berg, Man on the Line. I really love this album, and I've had this since it came out, was it 84? I'm guessing 84, 85. MTV used to play the hell out of the High on Emotion video, which was the first single off this album. I had no idea who Krista Berg was, so I didn't, like I said, you're young. A lot of these artists that MTV played, you're kind of oblivious to the fact they had a career before that video you're seeing. And obviously, we all know Krista Berg had quite a good career before this album. But I really, really loved High on Emotion. And this is a definite upgrade to the one I have. So that was a find from last night. If you have not heard that, like I say, for some of these albums, if you've not heard this album, if you are interested in Krista Berg, that's a really good album. Bad English. The first Bad English album, they had two albums. The second one called, I want to say Backlash, I think it was. Really quick story about Bad English, or a little bit of history if you don't know who they are. It's primarily members of Journey, with Ricky Phillips on bass from The Babies, who is now in Styx, and John Waite on vocals. And in fact, I think When I See You Smile was the big ballad hit single. It's a really good rock album. There's some really good rock songs on here, like Heaven is a Four-Letter Word. But that was from last night. I'm getting to the end. It's a long video, I'm sorry. Ian Hunter, Short Back and Sides. I couldn't remember if I'd heard this album, but I was picking it up anyways. I flipped it over and I saw who plays on it. So I don't know, already it's a winner for me, because I'm going to tell you who plays on this album. Mick Ronson, Todd Rundgren, Mick Jones, and Topper Headon from The Clash, or Headon. Who else plays on this? Ellen Foley, who is the female voice on Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell, amongst others, all play on this album. So when we're done, this is going to be the first album I play. So I have to hear this album. So Ian Hunter, Short Back and Sides. There's two more left and one's behind me. So I'm going to try to finish before the side ends. Pete Townsend, Empty Glass. This is an upgrade copy for me. Obviously Rough Boys was the big song off here. Well, I guess Let Love Open the Door, or Let My Love Open the Door. That was a big song, but Rough Boys was another big song. And now I'm rambling for the sake of rambling. But Pete Townsend, Empty Glass, another really awesome find last night. The last find I'm going to show you is this one I'm playing right now. This is, if you're Canadian, you might know this album. This was a K-Tel compilation from about 83, and it's a compilation called Electric North. A lot of us might see this in thrift stores. I've never seen a really excellent condition copy until this one. It's an incredibly, really good compilation of Canadian rock bands from about 82, 83 these songs are from. So, I mean, I guess you could go on Discogs and see who's on it, but, you know, it's Rush, April Wine, Headpins, Toronto, Streetheart, Aldo Nova, Harlequin, Bryan Adams, Payolas, amongst others. But it's funny how K-Tel put this compilation out in 1983, and I think pretty much every single song on this album is an FM radio staple in Canada to this day. I don't know what that tells you, but it makes for a damn good listen. We got through it. That was all last night. So there you go. Anyways, I want to thank everyone really quickly for watching my videos. I'm flattered as always, and I want to say thank you. It's a heartfelt thank you. I try not to do too many videos in a row, like I've kind of said before. This one, like I said, if you saw the beginning of this video and you didn't skip ahead, I was hoping to cheer myself up by doing this video, showing off this haul I got last night, and I feel better. So I'm going to sign off now. This has been David Michael, from the vinyl community, and we will see you again soon. Take care. I'm off to bed.